Hi there, this is Ronnie, Amber's Night, coming at you with, well, kind of a thought. I've watched a couple of videos of people's views on um, action points, Bennies, hero points, call them what you will. These small points that you can use to augment dice rolls in games. And there are opinions for and against. I'm not going to get into the who's right, who's wrong, because I don't think anyone is particularly right or wrong on the subject. I think it's down to personal taste and how you view things. So I'm just going to throw in my tuppence worth on my views. My views is, for the most part, I have no problem with them. I've bought a few games over the Christmas period, um, which have versions of. Obviously, I've picked up Savage Worlds now, which has the Benny system. I think Cortex uses them. I've got Angel and Buffy, which uses drama points. There is conviction points for blue rolls and obviously true 20 beyond it. And there are destiny points that one can use um, in Song of Ice and Fire. Now, I have no problems with any of those. And the reason being is that I think they are there to emulate the larger than life heroism that can occur in a given setting. Um, for high fantasy, you know, being able to wade through uh, whole armies of the enemy, uh, being hit by what should be a fatal blow, but being the hero that you are, you actually survive it. You know, the whole it's just a flesh wound um, thing, which I think is kind of fun. The other thing that I think they do is similarly for NPCs, it allows you to dramatically bring them back from the dead. The idea, uh, for example, in Buffy, you've just landed a killer blow against a demon. Um, you land it and you walk away because you're fairly certain that's done it. Ah, no, up it comes again. That's very much in keeping with the TV show as well. And I find the drama points do work. Can they be abused? Oh, absolutely. Utterly, completely abused. But I think when you've got good players who use them properly, they accentuate and augment the drama. And I like that. Does it screw with a GM's plans? Well, yeah, but you know, any game will screw with a GM's plans. Any GM who says that they absolutely saw everything from A to B to C to D, onward to Z in a game coming, um, I think is giving themselves a little too much credit. I don't think you can, as a GM, uh, account for every possible permutation that can happen. It's a role playing game, it's open to all kinds of interesting ideas. The only game that I own which I have never used these points for is Cult. Cult has a hero point system, and I've never used them. And the reason for it is fairly simple. Cult is a game of dark, atmospheric, oppressive horror. It is a desperate, despairing horror game. It is not a game of heroes. It is a game of people struggling to turn an almost unstoppable tide. It is about the horror of the soul. Um, I find hero points clash with that ideology. I understand why they're there. I think they're there very much for people to have in case they're going for something a bit more action horror. But I personally have never used them. But I don't use them across the board. I don't use them for, I don't allow players to use them, and I don't use them for major NPCs because I play fair. And the NPCs are tough enough without bloody hero points. But I've never used them, and I don't like them in that game because it's the setting jars with me. But if I were to use cult in a sort of lighter tone, if I were to use it more as a sort of action horror game, if I was trying to emulate something like, for example, the Underworld series, I probably would use hero points then, because that sort of exaggerated world of superpowered vampires and werewolves would fit with using hero points, whereas dark oppressive horror, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't. For the same reason, I would be really against using a Cthulhu game. Which is why, when it comes to Savage Worlds, I'm all for using Bennies, but not if I was going to use it for a very dark, sort of oppressive horror, the kind of horror I would use cult for. But at the moment, I'm looking at using Savage Worlds and the Horror Companion and the Superpowers Companion, and melding them together so that I can do, well, I could easily do Underworld with them, but I could also do True Blood. And I probably will allow hero points there because it's not dark and oppressive in the same way. It is about people rising to the occasion and sometimes doing things they weren't expecting to be able to do, or surviving things they never expected to. And hero points are a way of regulating that. Bennies are a way to regulate that. So ultimately, I don't have a problem with action points. I don't have a problem with their use. I don't really have a problem with the sort of excess tracking that has to go along with them. I like the idea that someone has done, which is particularly for something like Savage Worlds, with the Bennies you use poker chips or something similar, and just a bowl, and people actually pop them in. Then you can easily see who's got what, who's got so many left. You don't have to sit and keep a numerical track of. I might use a similar system for some of the other hero ones as well. It just saves a lot of paperwork. But those are my opinions on action points. For the most part, I don't have a problem with them. For the most part, I think they're useful. I think they can help augment the drama. I understand why people have reservations about them for one reason or another. That's perfectly fine. As I say, my only reservation is on cult, but that's for a very specific reason. But in general, I don't have a problem with them, and I'm looking forward to actually using them and seeing how they affect things. It looks like I'm going to use Savage Worlds for Star Wars, although I still want to use True 20 as well. But we'll see. But yeah, those are my opinions, and I'll be back soon with another video.